Hello friends, my name is Krishna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about reconciliations. This is in continuation to the part 1. We already had a discussion about definition of the reconciliation, how the reconciliation has to be performed, and I also explained about taking one example of the supplier account. I hope you would have got an opportunity to go through that video. In case if you did not get an opportunity to go through that, I will give you the link in below description. You can go through that so that it will be easy for you to continue with the current video. Okay, let us not waste too much of time. Let us continue with the current topic. In today's video I'm going to talk about three important items. One is open item, second one is recorded item, and third one is unreconciled item. When you are performing the reconciliation, you take any reconciliation for that matter. You can go to supplier account, or you can go to customer accounts, or you can go to any other general ledger accounts or intercompany accounts. You identify some of the transactions posted but not cleared in the system. For example, if I take supplier account, okay, vendor account, there is an opening balance of 1000. There are some invoices posted 500, 200, 300 rupees. There are some payments happened 100, 200. So when we close this balance, right, you could see some of the transactions still not paid, still not cleared in the vendor account. So whatever transactions you identify which are yet to be cleared or yet to be paid, they are called as identified items in that account. Those identified items have to be classified into three categories. What are those three categories? Open item, recorded item, unreconciled item. Let me repeat again. When we perform the reconciliation, we identify some of the transactions yet to be cleared, yet to be paid, right? So those transactions will be called as identified items. Those identified items have to be classified into three categories: open item, recorded item, unreconciled item. I hope you are clear. Now, when we classify those transactions into open item, recorded item, and unreconciled item, you need to understand what to do with those items, those categories, right? If it is an open item, what I am supposed to do. If it is a recorded item, what I am supposed to do. If it is unreconciled item, what I am supposed to do, right? So, to take necessary action for these three category of items, first you need to understand what is the meaning of open item. You need to understand what is the meaning of recorded item. You also need to understand what is the meaning of unreconciled item, right? I am going to explain each topic now, right? So what do you mean by open item? Okay, what is the definition says here? Transactions posted in respective GL account pertaining to that GL and awaiting for corresponding entry to clear from that GL account. Bit confusing, right? Let me give you with example. Let us say I'm taking the same vendor account, right? There is an invoice posted for $1,000. This amount has to be paid, right? This $1,000 invoice is pertaining to this supplier, this vendor. You are 100% sure that this $1,000 invoice posted in that account is pertaining to this supplier. So no doubt about it. There is no incorrect posting here. This is pertaining to this vendor account only. When the corresponding entry is going to come for this $1,000 when you make the payment. When you make the payment of $1,000, that will come in the debit side. And this debit and credit will get cancelled or will get cleared. Right? So, when there is a transaction posted in vendor account as an invoice, that will get cleared only when the payment happened to the supplier. So, what I'm trying to say here is, as long as this invoice is credited in the supplier account, unless you see the payment entry, this invoice will continue to be there in the supplier account. This is called open item. This is called open item. How long this will be treated as an open item? As long as this continue to be in the supplier account without making any payment, this will be treated as open item. But one exception to this is, again it depends on the company's account reconciliation policy. There are some companies, any open item not cleared for next 60 days, they still consider as open item. The minute it crosses 60 days, they consider that as unreconciled item, because as per their policy, they do not want to keep any open item beyond 60 days. Then why they are considering it as unreconciled item? Because this item has to be cleared within 60 days as per their policy. If it is not cleared within 60 days, there could be a reason for not clearing this, right? You need to do further investigation to identify why this is not paid, why it is still continue to be there in vendor account. So you need to do the further investigation. So the minute this crosses beyond 60 days without making any payment, it will be considered as unreconciled item. That we will discuss in detail later. But right now, what is your understanding? Any transaction posted to the respective GL account, and that transaction should be pertaining to that GL account, and you are waiting for the corresponding entry to be posted, that transaction will be considered as open item. You might be thinking, Krishna, it is very confusing. Can you please make it simple? Yes. I'll give you a simple example. Let us say you are in office. You went home. As soon as you reach, you see a person sitting in our living room. By looking at that person, you know that he is your relative. What do you say? The minute you look at that person, hey man, how are you? When did you come? How are you? Right? You greet him. But you don't ask him when are you going to leave immediately, right? Why? He is your relative. He is going to be there in this house. He would have come for some purpose. He will be there with you for some time, right? It's our minimum courtesy to say or greet that person, and we should never ask him when are you going to leave. That's our minimum courtesy, right? So this transaction is your relative. You know that this transaction is pertaining to this GL. And you greet it, you recognize it, but you wait for 60 days for the corresponding entry to come. If this is not coming within, corresponding entry is not coming within 60 days, then you start doubting this person. Oh, why this relative has come and not leaving even after 60 days? Then you need to start investigation. There could be something wrong, right? So, what do you mean by open item here? Open item is your relative. He has come to your house. You go and greet him. That's all. You wait for his exit. You wait for this corresponding entry. So, Your relative is your open item because you do not know when is he going to leave, and you cannot ask him that particular moment that when are you going to leave. You will just wait for his exit. Similar way, this $1,000 posted to this supplier account is treated as an open item till such time you get a corresponding entry. Clear? Let me move on to the next topic. Recorded item. What do you mean by recorded item? Let us say there is a bonus accrual account. What do you do with bonus accrual? We book an entry, right? Bonus account debit to bonus payable account or bonus accrual account. Right? This is the entry. It will be, let us say you posted $1,000 of bonus accrual. Every month you book an accrual, right? After booking this accrual on monthly basis, you need to clear this as well, right? But when do you clear? You know that as per your policy, your company's policy, bonus amount will be paid to the employees every year February, let us say. So, let us say today is March month. March month you booked your bonus accrual. This corresponding entry will come next year, so February. What do you mean by next year February? Next year February this amount will be paid. So, till such time this accrual will continue to be there in the bonus accrual. Or there are companies where they reverse next month and repost. Right? But this bonus amount will be paid to the employees only next year, February. I'm just taking an example of February. Don't think that every company will follow the same rule. I'm just telling you, I'm taking an example and explaining this. Current month there is an accrual posted. You can continue this accrual till such time the bonus amount is paid, or there are companies, they post the accrual, they reverse it and repost it again. They post the reversal and reposting. So there are different ways of following their accounting methodology. But what you need to understand here is this bonus accrual will be paid next year, maybe February or March, depends on the company's policy. What is the point you need to understand here is, while booking an accrual itself, you know when the corresponding entry is going to come. Am I right? Today you book the accrual. You know that this amount will be paid next year, February. That means you know the exit date. Right? So next year, February, you will make a payment and that will come as a debit balance. Corresponding entry is going to come in the month of February. So even 12 months before, you know that the exit entry is going to come at so and so date. That is called recorded item. Again, let us take the same example of a relative. Your relative called you up and said, hey, I am coming today evening by so and so train. I have an interview tomorrow. I'll stay tonight in your house. As soon as I complete my interview tomorrow morning, I already booked my return ticket. I'm going to leave. So, what is your understanding here? You know that your relative is coming today evening. He has an interview tomorrow morning. And after completing the interview, he is going to leave. That means what? You know the entry, you know the exit as well. This is called recorded item. So bonus accrued, credited. You know the payment entry is going to happen next year, February. So this 1,000 accrual, though it is open in the books of accounts, you will be calling that 1000 as recorded item. Clear? Let me move on to the next topic. Next item is unreconciled item. What do you mean by unreconciled item? Transactions posted in respective GL account are not pertaining to that GL account. What does it mean? Let us take same example account, vendor account. I posted an invoice in this vendor account, $1,000. But this $1,000 invoice is not pertaining to this vendor. It's an incorrect posting. So the transaction posted in this supplier account is not pertaining to that supplier. So what do you treat that? You need to start investigating that $1,000. Why this transaction is posted in this supplier account? You need to start investigating to identify the right supplier account for this invoice. And you need to rectify this in this supplier account and repost it to the right supplier account. Right? So these kind of transactions are called as unreconciled. Same, let us take an example of relative. This time, you went home, you saw a person sitting in our living room, but you don't know. He is neither relative to you nor relative to your wife. But somebody is sitting there in our living room. What do? You immediately start investigating, right? Hey man, who are you? Hey man, who are you? Why are you sitting here? How can I help you? Why are you sitting in my house? What do you want from me? Right? You start questioning, you start investigating why this person is sitting in your room. Right? Because you know that he is not relative of you or he is not a relative of your wife. So as soon as you get to know that he is not relative of you, you start investigating. Why are you sitting here? How can I help you? Is there any reason for you to come over here? You ask all these questions, right? Similar way, he's a stranger. Basically, he's a stranger. Similar way, here you see, you know that this invoice is not pertaining to this supplier account, but still sitting there. What is your responsibility? Your responsibility as an accountant is start investigating why this entry is posted here. What am I supposed to do with this entry? Who is the right supplier for this invoice? Who posted this entry in this supplier account? How can I rectify this? How can I post a rectification entry and repost this to the right supplier account? Right? So you need to start investigating about these transactions. This is called unreconciled item. It is not reconciled. You need to start investigating to identify the right account. So these are the definitions of open item, recorded item, and unreconciled item. One last recap. What do you mean by open item? The transaction posted in respective GL account is pertaining to the GL, but you do not know when the corresponding entry is going to come. That is called open item. Moving on to recorded item, a transaction posted in the GL account pertaining to the GL, and you also know when the corresponding entry is going to come. That's called recorded item. Third one, there is a transaction posted in the respective GL account, but the transaction is not pertaining to the GL. what you are supposed to do? You need to start investigating the transaction, identify the right place for that. Right? One last point. When we talk about open item, as I said previously, if that open item is still continuing that account for more than 60 days or 90 days or 30 days, it all depends on the respective company reconciliation policy. If that exceeds beyond certain time limit and still continue to be there in that account, that open item should be treated as unreconciled item, and you have to start investigating that account, that transaction, to rectify it. Otherwise, it will lead to suspicious or doubtful transaction in that account. So you need to start immediately investigating the transaction and rectify or identify the reason why that transaction is still continuing in that account. So these three are very, very important while preparing the reconciliations. And this is also very important for those people who are attending interviews or who are preparing the reconciliations in the respective R2R process. Because when you go for an interview, they will ask, right? What do you mean by open item? If you don't even know what is an open item, how do you get through that interview? If you don't even know what do you mean by recorded item, how do you get through that interview? That is one aspect from the interview process. The other aspect is when you are preparing a reconciliation as a part of R2R process as an accountant. If you don't even know what is open item, recorded item and unreconciled item, whatever reconciliation you are preparing is useless. You first understand what you mean by open item, recorded item and unreconciled item. Then there are many areas you need to look into it. Once you identify, you also need to work on aging analysis, you also need to work on follow-ups, you also need to work on backups, which I'm going to talk about in my next video, because now it's already almost 10 minutes. So I don't want to explain about all those aspects. Again, those aspects are going to come in my next part, maybe part 3. But right now in this particular video, if you could understand what you mean by open item, recorded item and unreconciled item, I think that will be more than enough. I hope I made an attempt to clarify the meaning of these three items. If you like the content, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.